Thank you so much for staying with us. It is still iBrandTV Daybreak. I promised you a conversation into the situation with the resident doctors, healthcare practitioners, and of course the federal government and the threats to go on strike. You would like to know that the National Association of Resident Doctors yesterday suspended its 5-day nationwide warning strike. The federal government entered into a memorandum of understanding with the National Medical Association and the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors. The MOU was signed at the end of a conciliation meeting convened by the Minister of Labor and Employment, Senator Chris Ngige. The meeting, which lasted for about 5 hours, addressed all the 8 issues raised by the striking doctors. They are the non-payment of salaries of doctors by state governments, domestication of the reviewed medical residency training fund for year 2023, the bill at the National Assembly on the bonding of doctors for 5 years before licensing, the circulation on immediate replacement of exited doctors and immediate payment of the 2023 MRTF. The orders are arrears of consequential adjustment on minimum wage, skipping arrears, and the review of the consolidated medical salary structure. With respect to CONMES, the meeting resolved that the National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission should adopt the percentage used for the Academic Staff Union of Universities and other university unions, which would include rise in allowances, while relatively of the increase would be maintained when other consolidated scales are considered. It was agreed that the proposal will be presented to the Presidential Committee on Salaries in their next valedictory meeting for final action, which will of course enable NSIWC issue the relevant circular 7 days after the PCS meeting. And in conclusion, the meeting agreed that the NARD officers are to present the outcome of the MOU to their members in an emergency meeting within 48 hours with a view to suspending the strike they embarked on last Wednesday, May 17, 2023. Joining us to have this conversation this morning is Professor Mike Girima. He's the Provost, College of Health Sciences, Federal University, Lokoja. He's also the past president of Nigeria Medical Association from the year 2016 to 2018. Good morning, Professor Mike, and welcome to the program this morning. All right, while we try to reconnect with Professor Mike, we also have Mr. Matthew Oluko in the studio. Good morning, Mr. Matthew.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right, we're looking at the striking situation. You know, the doctors have been in the news for a while now, and now we're hearing they've signed an MOU with the federal government, and, you know, they've suspended the strike. They're even supposed to resume work this morning. If they haven't, offices open at 8 a.m. But how do you react to this new MOU that has just been signed? Do you see it as same old situation, or you think this is, going to make progress this time?
I'm of the feeling that there's no point entering into that MOU without seeing positive commitment from federal government. Because over the time, federal government have had issues of this nature where they will enter into agreement and they will not honor it. That has always been the bane of the challenges of the medical doctors when issues like this occur. So for me, and if you look at the scenario currently, you agree with me that this government is winding down, and that if they raise issues, immediately the next administration is coming on board. People may want to ask them to give this government time to settle down. So for me, this would have been the best time to address it and ensure that they extract reasonable commitment from this outgoing government before they concede to any issue of coming back to work.
If you look at the history of this industrial strike that we're talking about here, we are looking at a period of August 2nd, 2021, and up until now. But of course, during that period, the court suspended the strike in the same month of August, to be precise, on the 23rd. And up until now, it has been one form of threatened of strike to the other. Sometimes the ministry comes into place to have 1 or 2 meetings, MOU are signed and all of that. What has been the issue that has been delaying the resolution of these issues that have been mentioned by my colleague earlier as regards why the union is threatening to go on the strike?
The truth is that the federal government is not willing to honor those agreements.
So what is the reason for it?
The reason is best known to them, because look at the issue of consolidated salary structure. The last time they had a collective bargaining, it was agreed that it should be reviewed every 5 years. And that agreement was reached in 2014 or so. You may say it happened in the last administration, but government is a continuity. So to what extent have federal government shown commitment to honoring that agreement? So for me, I think it's a question of federal government not being willing to commit more or spending in the health sector. I think it's a function of the premium they place on health sector. Because I don't think when they have issues that concern the political appointees, the government personalities, that they tarry in this manner in giving up fund for them to function. And if you look at the nature of Nigerian health system, you begin to wonder, why will a government, because if you even look at part of the collective bargaining they had, it was agreed that they should be, health sector should be getting 15% of our national budget. What was the health sector given in the last budget? It's about 5.7%. And if you begin to look at juxtapose Nigerian situation with UK, where they easily run to for medical attention. Look at in Nigeria currently. If you look at how many percent they spend, like I just said, on health sector, is nothing to write home about. UK spend about 11.9% of their gross domestic product on health sector, and you are looking at about 220 billion pounds, as against Nigeria 137 billion naira. So you continue to wonder, is not rocket science. The amount of money you invest will determine the output. So if you refuse to invest money, you are likely not to going to get any reasonable result. I have issue of Nigerians who leave the country, go to other places for greener pasture. You create unnecessary bureaucratic process that hinder the system from absorbing new doctors to fill in the gap. You have the issue of not having enough clinical staffs to address the gap in terms of personnel needed in the health sector. So for me, I think it's a function of the premium Nigerian government places on health sector.
Is it a question of legislation? What I mean by that is, I
understand it clearly.
The health sector and issues surrounding it and all the decisions that are to be made about it, is it in the exclusive or the concurrent list? Like, is it a situation where state governments can decide, okay, from here on now we want to treat our doctors better, and it will be, for example, if Enugu state government decides to say, okay, these are the issues that are being faced by resident doctors and the Association of Medical People in our state, we are willing to legislate and create these policies and these laws and put you people in a good position. Do you think there could be a situation like that?
I don't think legislation is a challenge. Because I don't think even the health sector is not in the exclusive legislative list. Because states on their own, you have state hospitals, general hospitals and all that, even teaching hospitals. So I don't think legislation is, I think it is a function of premium, where the value they place on health sector. And again, I think it's a function of, because they are not directly being affected by the decadence in the health sector, that perhaps explain the reason they are not committed to putting more money in it. Because if there is a law that restricts the political appointees from going abroad for medical treatment, I think it will make them vote more money to make sure they improve in the system. Because don't forget that part of the reason they embark on the strike is to ask the federal government to invest more in the infrastructure development of the health sector. So what I'm trying to say in essence is, the government on its own, I think, is a function of the value they place on health sector.